Hello, my dear students. I once again welcome you all for the second revision class on the topic Indian Constitution. Firstly, let us try to know what is meant by Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is the fundamental law of land. It establishes rule of law. It protects rights and liberty of the people. It decides sovereignty and it helps to establish legitimate government. Next heading, the formation and composition of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly came into existence in November 1946 after passing of Indian Independence Act 1947. Its aim was to prepare a constitution for India. The Constituent Assembly was formed by 389 members. Of this, 296 members were elected from the elected members of the legislative assemblies of British provinces and 93 representatives were from the princely states. After the partition of India during August 14, 1947, the strength of Constituent Assembly got reduced to 308. It had its first session on 9th December 1946 and Dr. Sachidanand Sinha was its ad hoc president. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as its permanent president on 11th December 1946. The Assembly created several committees to discuss and examine various aspects relating to the formation of the Constitution. Coming to the next heading, features of Indian Constitution. First one, written Constitution. It is the written Constitution where the main body of the fundamental rules has been laid down in writing by the members of drafting committee and Constituent Assembly. The second feature is longest written Constitution. The Indian Constitution is the lengthiest and most detailed of all written constitutions. It consists of 395 articles divided into 12 parts and 12 schedules. The third feature is drawn from different sources. Most of our constitutional provisions are borrowed from others. For example, the system of parliamentary democracy is borrowed from the British Constitution, the fundamental rights from USA, emergency provisions from Germany, and distribution of powers from Australia. The fourth feature of the Constitution is partly rigid and partly flexible. It is rigid because some of its provisions cannot be amended unless there is a two-thirds majority of Parliament, and some can be amended only when they are passed by two-thirds majority of Parliament and ratified by 50% of the state legislatures. It is partly flexible because some of its provisions can be amended by a simple majority of Parliament. Also, our Constitution has amended 45 times till October 2010, which proves that it is a flexible Constitution. The fifth salient feature of Indian Constitution is parliamentary form of government. The Constitution of India has given parliamentary form of government both at center and in the states. In the center, the president is the constitutional head and power is given to the Council of Ministers with Prime Minister as its head. The Council of Ministers are responsible for lower house called Lok Sabha. These members are elected by the people normally for 5 years. In the state, the governor is the constitutional head, the chief minister and council of ministers work under the governor. These council of ministers are responsible for legislative assembly and these members are directly elected by the people for 5 years. The sixth feature is single citizenship. All people born in India are Indians and they get the Indian citizenship and enjoy the same right of citizenship in whichever state he lives. The seventh feature of Indian Constitution is independent judiciary. India has single unified judicial system. The highest court of law is Supreme Court. In order to keep the judiciary independent, the judges of Supreme Court and High Court are appointed by the President of India. The eighth feature of the Constitution is universal adult franchise. According to this system, every man or woman of 18 years of age or above has been eligible for voting to elect representatives of legislature. The ninth one is fundamental rights. The fundamental rights are declared in Part 3 of our Constitution. Some rights are required for the development of human personality in the country. Hence, our Constitution has given certain rights to the citizens of our country which are called fundamental rights. These rights are essential for man to lead a decent and respectable life. The 10th feature of the Indian Constitution is fundamental duties. Our Constitution of India has given fundamental rights to the citizens to enjoy the liberty, equality, education, etc. For their development and growth, it is equally important for the citizens to follow certain fundamental duties in the interest of society and country. Further, rights and duties are the two faces of the same coin and these are correlated. Hence, people who enjoy the fundamental rights should also be subjected to fundamental duties. Next heading, Preamble of our Constitution. The preamble of our Constitution contains basic principles, aims and objectives. Preamble is the mirror of the Indian Constitution. It sets out the philosophy of the Constitution and it helps to decide the gist and utility of the Constitution. The preamble reads like this: We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of individual and the unity and integrity of the nation in our Constituent Assembly this 26th day of November 1949 do hereby adopt, enact and give ourselves this Constitution. Next heading, Fundamental Rights. Fundamental rights literally mean those freedoms which are essential for personal good as well as good of the country. There are 6 fundamental rights. First one is right to equality. Right to freedom is the second one. Third one, right against exploitation. Fourth one, right to freedom of religion. Fifth one, cultural and educational rights. And sixth one, right to constitutional remedies. Let us explain these fundamental rights one by one. First one, right to equality. Every citizen is considered to be equal by the Constitution. He is equal before law and protected by the laws. Right to equality bans untouchability. No one is discriminated on the grounds of religion, color and race. The second one is right to freedom. Our Constitution guarantees 6 basic freedoms: freedom of speech and expression, freedom of peaceful assembly without arms, freedom of forming association, freedom of movement anywhere in India, freedom of living in any part of India, freedom of practicing any profession. The next right is right against exploitation. It bans all forms of child labor and human trafficking. The practices like sati, child marriage and dowry are banned. The next right is the right to the freedom of religion. Everybody is given equal freedom to practice his religion. The state governments are prohibited from making special provisions for the development of any religion. The objective of this right is to sustain the principle of secularism in India. The last right is the cultural and educational right. It provides an opportunity to communities to protect, promote, and develop his language, literature, culture, interest, and practices. And the next one is right to constitutional remedies. The Constitution has made provisions for the courts to protect people's fundamental rights. If the fundamental rights are obstructed by an individual, organization, or by the government, people can directly approach Supreme Court or High Court. After studying the fundamental rights, now it is time to know about the fundamental duties of an Indian citizen. Our Constitution has introduced 10 fundamental duties in Article 51A as follows. The first fundamental duty is to abide by the Constitution and respect the national flag and national anthem. Second duty is to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. The third duty is to protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. The fourth duty is to defend the country and provide national service when the state asks for it. The next duty is to promote the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all. The sixth fundamental duty is to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. The seventh duty is to protect and improve the natural environment like forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife. The eighth duty is to develop the scientific temper, humanism, spirit of inquiry, and reform. The ninth duty is to safeguard public property and to avoid violence. And the last duty is to strive fundamental excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity. The last heading in today's discussion, the directive principles of the state policy. Directive principles of the state policy is depicted in part 4, which includes the articles 36 to 51. They are the guidelines to the central and state governments to be kept in mind while framing laws and policies. Some important directive principles are: Article 36 defines the term state. Article 37 obligation of the state to apply direct principles in making law. Article 38 state should promote welfare of people, reduce inequalities of income and status. Article 39 right to adequate livelihood and equal pay for equal work, opportunities for children, help to the poor and needy. Article 40 organization of village panchayat. Article 41 makes provision for right to work, education assistance in case of unemployment, old age, illness, etc. Article 42 and 43 state should try to give workers the opportunity to earn a living wage, human condition of work, maternity relief, standard of living, social and cultural opportunities. Article 44 promotion of uniform civil code. Article 45 childhood care to all children below the age of 6. Article 46 SC, ST, OBC and other weaker sections should get equal opportunities. Article 47 improving standard of living and public health. Article 48 modernization of agriculture and animal husbandry and prohibition of cow slaughter, protection of forest and wildlife. Article 49 preservation of monuments. Article 50 separation of judiciary from executive. Article 51